Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final cast of this Spy Party Major League season 2. We are here with the Grandmaster Finals. My name is Opie Wrights. I am here with my co-caster Slappy Davis.
Hey, it's awesome to be here.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited to be here for this one. I haven't been able to cast recently, but you really got to make it for the finals when you get asked to do it, right?
Well, and
uh,
also it's for one that you haven't come back to for a while. Like Rov Legorve would have fit perfectly well as a final matchup in like 2022 or so anyway. So if you've been gone for a couple of years, this matchup is gonna be kind of like almost like a classic because I mean Rov is stuck around, but Legorve had like a mini retirement. I don't actually know the time frames off the top of my head, but you might know a little bit more, Opie. But it's been like a year or two.
Yeah, I mean, Legorbe's always been around to some degree, but definitely took a bit of a step back from competitive play, as you mentioned. Rav, on the other hand, has been quite dominant in competitive play, near the top pretty much always throughout the past 2 years. And you're right, the last time these two met was in the Winter Cup Finals of 2022, so that's about the right time frame you're looking at.
Yeah, and they've always been like playing really close, really competitive, super exciting. Like, because they also I don't remember if there was a really good set in SMC one. I don't remember if it was Rob Legorve. It was there was like a bunch of insane sets between Rov, Legorve, and I think Nebula. Um, just what that bracket was crazy. If people want to go back and watch that, but it was right around that time that I think after SMC, Legorov stepped back a little bit. But Legorov is also someone who plays a ton all in a row, so they were able to de-rust pretty effectively. I think there were question marks in some people's minds about Legorov coming out and coming straight into Grandmaster for this after kind of taking that competitive break, but so far throughout their season, they played extremely well.
Yeah, they had a bit of a slower start than I just think some expected on the season. But just after that was completely dominant. The only more dominant player, of course, being Rov, who did not lose to anybody else in contention for the playoffs in Grandmaster. Did drop that one match to Minirek, but Minirek's always strong. Was just a little bit rusty, a little bit, not all the way there this particular season, but Minirek can take out someone as strong as Rov anytime, any day, as long as he's playing well. So it's not exactly a problem to be dropping games to someone in Grandmaster, even if you're Rov. But yeah, no losses to anybody in contention. Only that draw against Adafiash.
Yeah, and I'm curious if because Legorov and Adafias played the I know what to call it, but like the semifinals where I think Rob got into it automatically. I'm curious if he was more worried about one relative to the other because the one thing about Rob's scoreline is that Rob had a lot more separation in their scores than Legorv did. Legorv's sets are almost all really close. Like the furthest apart was the Adafias 9-4 win. And that's not that distant, you know. Oh,
Mhm.
actually, Minioric. I guess Minioric also had a 9-4, but it's not that. Not that much
Yeah, we
separation,
saw
you
a
know.
lot of close matches out of Ligor for sure this season.
Yeah. And actually, and of course, so one of the things that's gonna be the most relevant, of course, is that week 6 matchup where Rav and Legorov played, and that was pretty much Sniper Party, except Rav was able to sweep Tayen. But other than that, it was just sniper domination game after game. So, of course, going into it, we just have the high level expectation of a lot of sniper dominance at the higher end of the brackets. But we also are going to like emphasize that even more because these are two very, very good snipers and very much could see a sniper party up way through and like putting a lot of emphasis on the breaks.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of Tayen, moving into the draft here, I just want to point out before we go through the entire thing that Legorv has picked Tayen on his own picks here. So it is, saying I don't care about that time that Rob swept Tayen, and that's the only reason that Rob won that match. We're still picking it. But let's go through the entire draft before we really get to that one. We have Legorv banning Aquarium, Rov banning Balcony. I feel like this is pretty standard. Legorve and I actually, during our regular season match, had an honor system ban for Aquarium, so we could use our bans on something else. And Rav that's the balcony is the permaban for Rav. Legorve restricting gallery makes a pretty good amount of sense. Rav is a very strong gallery player. It's a higher sniper win rate venue, especially out of those 4 of 8. So not wanting to see any of the multiplications on the gallery. And of course, Rav restricting high rise, which again also makes a good amount of sense. It's one of those venues that can force you to shoot an AI if you're a little bit unsure about their mission progress and their flirt progress. And Rav is a little bit weaker in those areas. If you can call Rav weak in any area, it's hard to say that, but it's a relative weakness for sure. After that, we have Legorve picking Ballroom, Tayen, and Redwoods. Lots and lots of venues with quite a few spy chances.
Absolutely. And then, of course, you go ahead and talk about the multipliers because I know you're going to be excited about these.
Yeah, Rav, by the way, picked Gallery, Modern, Veranda, and Courtyard. I'm a big fan of this draft already, just from the venues. Lots and lots of spy play from both picks. A little bit more on the sniper favor side from Rav's with Gallery and Courtyard, but rather Gallery, Veranda, and Courtyard. But even those venues, you're still going to have some play with their spy. Legorve delays Modern, so if we do see Modern, it's going to be at the very end. Rav delays Redwoods, so that'll be even more at the end because Rav is picking second here. And then to the multiplies, which you just so aptly mentioned, Slappy, we see 2 multiplies on Ballroom, one from each player, and then we have Redwoods and Modern. I'm so happy. We get to see 6 games of Ballroom, and it's our first venue. It's such a good venue to really start off the set and see where these players are at in the early game here, because there's so much interplay between spy and sniper here, lots of skill expression, and just Ballroom's a great venue. I love Ballroom. What can I say? I'm excited.
Absolutely. And also I see the graphic got updated because I was like, that's so interesting that Rav restricted gallery. But it seems like it switched over to Legorve's side. It's like Legorve famously not a fan of gallery. And so I was like, I wonder if there's some sort of crazy thing there. Like, oh nope. Legorve's still the same. I wasn't sure if Legorve all of a sudden became a gallery lover. But yes, I'm super excited about the fact that there's these stacked up ballrooms. I'm also excited about Redwoods. That's a really stressful venue to slap at the end of a potential set.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of because also it's a paranoid map just in general, or it's a paranoid venue just in general. So being paranoid when you go into that, I think it's gonna be a lot more difficult because I think that Minnie and Rav also both doubled up on Redwood, so they had 6 games of Redwoods, I think, or at least 4 when they matched up, and it was just actually Sniper Party all the way through. But that's also when right at the beginning of the set where they're on top, they're fresh, and all that kind of great stuff. So if we get to Redwoods, that's gonna be a problem for them. But of course, we still have all of that territory to go in between here and there. So I think that's about everything.
Yeah, this is our first to 12 set. It's a long one. There's gonna be some emphasis on endurance. There's gonna be some level of interplay in terms of, do you want to extend your spy games or do you want to go for the throat, just to tire your opponent out, that sort of thing. Everything is going to be very important here. Lots of match strategy going on. But before we talk about all that, we need to see how the first few games shape up. And that means that we need to get into the first game where we have Rob on the spy side playing as Orange Sari here. Ready to go, Slappy?
Absolutely. The one thing I was going to ask is, I guess we're not going to know really more about this until Legorve plays. Is Legorve going to spell something? Legorve kind of like spelling stuff in finals, right? Like
That is
that's
true.
what he used to do.
Well, Rav might be tipped off to that since Legorov has done it so often. So it might be a little bit of a risky strategy in this case, but I would be interested in seeing that happen. But let's get it going in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
So I'm thinking it was some finals I think versus you. He did TB Pap DBAP DBAP.
OTBAP. Oh,
Oh
there's been a
TB.
pro word.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna start off with Sarian here, and then this part is a little interesting with the conversations. Like, not any conversation except for this one is really gaining any ground, so it's gonna be shifting around. But this also does mean that likely this conversation up here is gonna stick for the statues. We saw some interesting plays from Guggy actually yesterday, where they slipped in, did a swap, and then stepped right back in. So this will be a lot of statue blocking. I don't know if you have any preferences around which conversation kind of gets stuck first on Ballroom, but I figure you might.
I mean, this early on in Ballroom, I'm pretty happy to just see not many conversations sticking at all. When the party is sparse like this in the early game, that means that there are absolutely guests going and doing things. We've seen a lot of statue visits early on in this game. It's going to make the party a lot brighter for Legorve. So Rob is just going to have a better opportunity to get something slick by, which is, of course, Rob's modus operandi in most of these spy games. Wants to get something very nice and subtle, plays a very slow game. It's a little bit dangerous sometimes when you get low on that time, but Rob has proven that, he's pretty good at handling that. Even if there are some of those timeouts. 34% flirt is the only progress, though, a minute and a half into this game. And look at this. We do see one low light, interestingly enough, coming out without any other indication from the spy. But yeah, 3 highlights, lots of statue visitors. We haven't done much. And now that we have the conversation solidifying a little bit more, I think there's gonna be a little bit more opportunity for something that Rob likes. Those sparse conversations and sparse areas on Ballroom do make it more difficult to have something that's very subtle. You have to be a bit more bold. So I think if the party had stayed like that, Rob would be feeling a lot worse. And in fact, now that the ambassador's over to that left-hand side, it makes things a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, because you were able to describe all that with all that amount of time, indicates that we have had a slow start, right?
Yeah.
Now we're doing lots of looking around. His Rob's camera is pretty active in here. We could go for bug on here, but there's like terrible like cover except for us blocking our own arm, so it'd be a path association at best. Okay, we are gonna path way around just try to get more flirt progress, but not all that much has happened for us. There has been people moving around and there has been a few lowlights. And I was actually going to ask, um, how would you describe Legorve's sniper? Because people are probably pretty familiar with Rob's threat tracking style, but Legorve has kind of a grab bag
In the
to
other
me.
way.
I don't know if you've got a good way to send it. Oh, before that, we do have a green purloin and a
Green Pearl and the contact.
contact.
Legorve has correctly identified the real double agent here, so is going to have a strong idea of where this is coming from the spy side. I think that we're not really going to be able to get this through because we're going to have to get 2 more missions in 20 seconds, even if we get away with this purloin. So I doubt that this is going to be a game win. So we have to go for the bug. And yeah, no, we see the zoom in onto Rov there. I think this is about ready to be a shot. Yeah, no, Legorve taking his time. It was a little bit, being very, very patient with that shot despite the spy being in mission countdown. But as soon as that purloin was gone, we did see the zoom in and of course the walk by the ambassador to try to get that bug. And of course, it's not actually a bad finish. Like this bug, when you look at it, there's a lot of traffic. The ambassador ends up being in a really good spot here. There's a lot of like good traffic here. The conversations are nicely packed into a spot where you can make this bug happen without being too obvious about it. But Legorve was just completely on track with the purloin tracking, and of course had the real contact compared to the fake contact on the with the SDA. So was just very aware of where the spy could be at that point in the game, and I think is aware that Rob is going to be playing a slower spy. So
I'm curious actually if Legorve ever saw that purloin. Because I'm watching the the sniper replay camera, and there's a clear time where there's an empty tray, but it's not where we're moving. Because while we're doing it, while we're actually looking, we actually seem to zoom in where the bug is going to happen ahead of time. So I'm curious if we actually even clocked that
I
power
think
line had
I think we
happened.
did. I think we did because like when you look at the zoom in onto where the bug is happening, we're not looking at the arm, we're looking at the head. We want to shoot, but then we have Rocker in the background of our shot, and Legorv does not want to risk a miss shot there, which is very smart.
Yeah, and actually, I think you're right. Where we have our first level zoom, this is just kind of fun. There's a 1 level zoom to see Trey, and then we actually just keep it steady, and then we double level zoom in to confirm sorry in that chain, and then I think we're just kind of like in there. So kind of a fun game. So even though, I mean, to be honest, I didn't actually think Rob was going to come away with as compelling of a set of missions as that. of course, still had to, do some things in there and got shot, but was not a super messy finish. It was a completely fine spy game that
Yeah,
had
and
a decent chance of working.
now that does rely on the party being clumped in the way that it was a little bit. Um, because of the clumping in those three right side conversations, you're going to have a lot more cover, a lot more visual cover, a lot more ability to walk around very crazily without really attracting as much attention. So it looks very, very good. But it is somewhat reliant on the party there, which is the danger, of course, of being that low on time. But again, Rav very good at putting those together at the end of the game. So definitely a skill to be had. Legorve now on the spy side, up 1-0. It is, of course, a sniper win, and really the bread and butter here of a finals victory will be spy wins. So Legorve going to try to do that here on Kane in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
All right, well, we'll have to track spelling. So this is the D, correct? So starting off
Yeah,
with the D, we'll see where we can go from here.
pretty slow start. I mean, I say slow start, but it's only been about 12 seconds. Interestingly, we have a similar sort of spread out party. However, it's slightly more clumpy within the conversations, and the activity is less centered around statues. Instead, we have, some people walking by Ambassador, some people at Green Books. I think it's a little bit of an easier early game to handle than Legorov just had on the sniper side.
Yeah, and I got another little
Ooh.
question for you. Oh yeah, interesting. If you have double agent, you're tracking double agent as spy. Do you like double agent sitting in one conversation pretty much the whole game with lots of people, or do you like them kind of sprinkling into multiple conversations?
So we see a really early contact here from
the red.
Legorv. Unfortunately, I think there was a bit of a camera shake as one of the suspects we might have been trying to frame did leave conversation. That's general there. Didn't get a full low light though. To answer your question, I don't often try to like super well narrow down who the SDA is. It's just not part of my game as much because I'm trying to play a little bit faster than that on average. But if you're going for it, I think you want them in conversation as much as possible, and that means staying in one conversation as much as possible. Just because if they move, they could be moving to a bookcase, they could be moving to statues, they could be moving to some other pad that isn't a conversation, which is not going to be very useful. So 2 lowlights from that contact, by the way, and now 51% flirt to go with it. This is a much quicker, although, wait, contact didn't go off. Our double agent bailed on us.
Yeah,
I've only just now realized that. Oh, sick bug from Legorve. Reverse drive-by with the one of the two characters in the game. Like I want to replay that later, but we had the pillar blocking from Rob's angle. We had the ambassador coming by us. We have one of the few characters in the game, only Kane and Duke, that do not have an idle reset with their hands at their center. Therefore, it's a lot nicer looking than pretty much any other character. I'm not that we might have gotten away with that.
yeah, and I want to fully agree with you there because sometimes we don't often think of the hand side bug as being that great for Kane, but you're right that one of the big things is one of the things that makes that Kane side bug great is that there's not the center like belt loop reset so that you can like check for that. Your other hand still has a great chance of those kinds of bugs. It's not as smooth on the walking side, but standing bugs are quite nice for Papa as well.
Nice pathing here from Legorve. However, we're down to 45 seconds, and we still need 3 more missions. 2 of them can be contact and seduce. It does suck that we have to do contact again, though. So we're waiting for a... Yep, there it goes.
Banana bread.
It's nice big conversations though. Now
Yeah,
there are going to be
big
lowlights, but
conversations with both, but 30
huge two
seconds.
conversations.
30 seconds is all we have left on this clock. We need one more flirt. Our ST is moving, unfortunately. Our ST is going to statues? Statues! Our ST is going to statues!
That's
No, we're off
incredible.
the pad!
Oh no!
Wait, no, we're on it. I thought we were
We're
on
on
the pad
it.
because I didn't see it light up, but I guess we're on the pad. We get the last couple.
Swap!
No, it's a swap? What are you talking
Green
about?
swap. So we're green swapping to maybe cover
Oh my
the
god,
inspect.
what is
Oh,
this?
but
This is
it.
insane. Legorv, no!
Oh, we're not gonna inspect. Or are we going
We didn't
to?
inspect, but now the
Are we
mission
gonna?
win is pending. Wait a second. We're trying
Wait,
to frame.
we're gonna go
What are we
inspect.
doing?
I think we're
I
gonna
don't think this is
inspect.
gonna work out. We're going to inspect, and there's gonna be overtime. We're just gonna be the bullet. But wait, is there enough
But we're still
confusion?
parsing.
6
We're still
seconds.
parsing. We're
There's
looking.
no way. Rob does find the shot, but look, that was so confusing on Rob's end because when you're in this position and you're sniping, you see clock hang. What you're thinking is, okay, there is a there's a pending swap here, right? However, something that helped here additionally is that let's see, did we have any Purloin rejects right beforehand? No, we didn't. So it was just us and our ST as potential targets for this swap. So it really had to be either a time ad or a swap pend. So as Rav, you're thinking, okay, there's got to be a swap pend, right? But when the swap does not come off before, and you start hearing mission win countdown, suddenly there's a lot of confusion because Rav's mission counting here was okay, inspects are finished, flirt is finished, contact is finished, swap pend is the last mission. But we didn't have the bug, so the mission counting was an error there. However, I have to say, this swap plan, why did we go for this in the first place? It was confusing for sure, but you're giving so much information by going to overtime in the first place. We could have gotten an inspect done, and had a negligible amount of overtime, if any.
Oh, I'm sure it's a mistake. I'm sure it's action
Yeah.
priorities. Like I'm sure it was trying to do as quickly as possible.
I mean, like
Like I don't think
for
it was planned.
for a mistake, like that's still pretty decent insofar as I think if we had gone to the statue that our ST had been at, we had a much higher chance of winning this game. Because
Yeah.
suddenly the swap could be from our ST if Rav can't quite get a glimpse on it and is just hearing the overtime beeps and is assuming the swap happened. Like that much more credibly frames a different target for our swap frame. So insofar as like we made that mistake of swapping instead of inspecting, this was fine. I still think we should have just gone for the inspects though. But it's we make decisions and it almost worked. Let's be clear, it did almost work. The shot was taken at 3 seconds left in the game.
Oh, and absolutely, I think it would have worked. So if we hit the inspect, let's see. I guess we would have had maybe like a partial 1 second maybe of OT, but if you have to like an instant shot
Oh, I I,
because
I, I was referring to the swap play afterwards.
oh yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No,
that
no,
almost
that
worked.
that part almost worked. And also, but credit to Rav for taking the like entire time to think through their shot rather than just like panic shoot because it didn't seem like Rav kind of reasoned their way into the shot on Papa where they started clearing. Okay, I'm gonna check Purloin right because that's one of the other things that it possibly could be. I'm gonna look at windows and I'm gonna think about this shot and then I'm just going to kind of I'm very curious how confident that like end part of that shot was. Because I think he was just parsing out all the potential things that could have happened before actually taking that shot.
Yeah. 1-1 now. Rav on the spy side playing as the most dangerous character in this game, Smallman. Whew, we tried to, this is a first to 12 set Slappy. I feel like my adrenaline's pumping already. This is like, I thought this was the end. Anyway, let's get going. Rav on Smallman in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And I think the thing that shows from that last game in particular is both players improvised pretty well under stress, where they were both in kind of a weird scenario because of just how that happened to work out there at the end. One with seduction target going to statues right at the end, which was just such a gift in the first place. And then accidentally swapping, and then Rob having to parse out kind of on the fly into kind of a weird little end game scenario there. And also, I forgot to mention this. We picked up a fingerprintable statue. So I am curious if we also were just worried like our mission count was off because we thought Legorve maybe snuck a fingerprint at some point
Right.
rather than the bug, right? But that was just complete accident, right? We were only going to that center statue because we wanted to flirt.
But we didn't need, the full flirt, right? We could have actually gone to the side statue on the very left. I think that might have been smarter.
I think he might have even tried to. We were so close in the
Right. It was
middle
it
of
was
that
a
pad.
very very close pad. Like I thought we missed it.
Anyways, that was a crazy, crazy game, and we'll see if Rav just settles down in here. Like this is so far just looking kind of like a traditional game. Rav just gonna see if they can two flirt, and then probably never go into conversation except to contact again after that.
Two
We'll
flirt
see.
and a
They do hit the
conflict.
two flirt.
Potential bug here from the ambassador walking by us. The ambassador is also going to be at blue bookcase. I think slamming here. No, not quite slamming. When they are pushed out by their um, patience meter, they will slam the book. But in this case, that is not something that's happening. Um, So we might be looking for a double walking bug with the ambassador as they leave the blue bookcase here, either on the backside or just through our conversation. Rav goes somewhere else, I think intentionally tries to bounce off that to make it look like we weren't go for the walking bug, but then the ambassador just kind of lands in that on that back left pad. So that idea gets put out to pasture for the time being, but we still only have one mission and 1 minute 30 on the clock. A pretty common problem I think we're going to have in this set from Rav's spy. As we've seen, Rav can make that work, but it's definitely a problem to solve and must be solved consistently.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about us having we're gonna pick up this briefcase. We are. It is
Difficult
going to be a
fingerprint.
difficult fingerprint. We're going to see if we're able to grab that.
Hits
We
it.
are indeed able to grab that. But something that Rob often will do that right now is kind of playing against type is if he hadn't finished Seduce yet, he'd be using those opportunities
Oh,
where we're doing the bounces. Let's see if we were able to finish this briefcase
I
correctly. He'd
think
be using those bounces to try to get into conversation circles with his seduction target.
I think we may have made a mistake on that briefcase somewhere because we did pick up a highlight, or it's just tracking Smallman because Smallman just did a thing where it was very hard to see Smallman, and now we're going to yeah. This is the kind of thing that Legorve will shoot for every single day out of the week. I don't think we're gonna get away with this. This is too obvious and too quick.
Oh, we're not going to even get the any inspects done. Or sorry, not any inspects. We're not going to
Oh,
get the full set
barely
done.
interrupted. If we had waited to do the this is as soon as we go to the second set of statues, we're dead here because this is also another thing that Legorve will care about, that second set of statues. Or, hold on, are we just gonna go? No,
We're
wait,
going to bug.
what's happening? Yeah, no, we're super dead here. Wait,
Wait.
Legorve? I genuinely thought that there was no way um that this happened, especially because it seemed like it's something that you would watch for as Legorve. There's a lot of reasons that this is a pretty like obviously Legorve losing a sniper game here is bad for Legorve, but we need to talk about this was a big mistake that we would not, I think, usually see at this high level of play. Because we have Smallman getting two prints very late in the game. You know Rob is a slow player, so the density of missions in the latter half of the game is going to be much higher than your average spy. Then we see, potentially getting inspects interrupted, and then we see a swap as Smallman, your only other suspect, goes right next to the ambassador, right? I think that this had to have been maybe a phantom of a white swap. And the reason we saw a hesitation was because everything about this scenario was Legorve's brain saying, hey, Smallman's the spy. But then that idea of like, oh, wait, Rocker just did a white swap was stuck in his brain. And like, I think that there's some kind of like inconsistency there that caused that shot on Rocker. Because this is the kind of thing that Legorve usually just is on top of consistently.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Because especially how still we kept our laser. Because the other thing is, this is one of the easiest to see swaps possible, right? So if we're looking at that swap at all, it's very clearly a green. It's not going to be even close. And I even thought with our adjustments that we were very clearly watching that set of statues. So I agreed. I thought it was just going to be death because of how much we were watching that. It didn't even matter if the bug happened because possibly we could have thought that Smallman sneaked through the full set of inspects. So agreed that there was two different ways that Smallman could have been finishing there. And yet, because the one thing that did happen for Rocker that was a little bit tricky is, of course, Rocker finishes inspects by going and swapping immediately and kind of
Well,
like just
Rocker
puts
actually
themselves in
already had
spot.
finished inspects. From earlier in the game, Rocker was at the right statues on the left. So Rocker was finishing inspects while next to us. Now, and I think that actually helps her get shot, for what it's worth, because I don't know if there's enough time to get both an inspect, a final inspect, and the swap off to trigger that overtime if you're Rocker as the spy there. So the fact that we already had inspects completely done when the swap comes off in Rocker's shoes probably helps her get shot.
Yeah, but again to that point, you would think that then if we're worried about it, we're watching that swap carefully, right? Because
Yeah.
in either case, we're worried that Rocker is going to swap, or if we see that it's a green swap there. So indeed, out of that is a small detail. Other than that, like that game seemed like Legorv was handling it pretty well. They had the highlight on Smallman. Smallman was forced into doing a last second bug in order to finish. But just that last little detail wasn't there. So hopefully that doesn't stick for Legorve because that's going to be huge problems because Rob will find other ways to break that.
Yeah, for a 12-game set, like in terms of losing spy games against Rav, you would be, hard pressed to find a better scenario to have that happen to you than in a 12-game set where there's a lot of time to make that back. But at the same time, losing a spy game versus Rav when Rob's sniper win rate is just obscene, 85% this season. It's way up there. Um, Easily the best in GM, the best in of any player in the game right now, pretty much. So that's gonna be a tough one to come back from. But Legorve, we still have 3 more games of Ballroom to play, and 2 of them are on the spy side for Legorve. We can see if we can equalize this. Legorve Genine playing as general here in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And it's funny, both of these, the last couple of games we saw in Ballroom, both had green swap shenanigans. And so it seems like that is just kind of the desperate spot that these players have gone for. Neither went for a last second purloin, for example. They both opted into these swap. Sorry, I should say opted into. We have an early time at.
We did see a last second purloin in the first spy game from Rav.
That's true. We have a timeout right at the start of this game here. Doesn't seem like we got caught for that at all, but also maybe not all that
There are a
important
couple
for
of
Rav.
lowlights. I'll note that, and Rob doesn't usually take speculative lowlights, so I would say that we probably got caught for it insofar as Rob knows that the timeout has happened and knows that there are a couple of guests guaranteed could not have done it.
One of them does come back up though to a highlight for a statue visit. So I don't know how confident we are of them. But I guess we'll just have to see how sticky they are. Normally, you'd think that Rob's highlights and lowlights are pretty sticky.
Ooh, Legorve kind of doing a replicating what is an anti-tell by resetting his idle animation while in conversation with a briefcase. It's a small detail that can be very, very important against certain snipers. Against Rob, I think it's a little bit less important. Rob is less likely to kind of take that bait. Additionally, it is known that you can, replicate that these days. So you're less likely to find snipers at the top level taking lowlights for that. But it's just that, little details that can end up mattering potentially later on in the set.
Yeah, no, and obviously, like if you start getting really good with the pathing things, you just do it by nature. Like you just start actually trying to think like all of the rules that AI do each time you are touching an object in a certain way. So it could just not even be for Rav, but we have just had to go through all the pathing snipers at the higher end.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a fairly good progress here. 1 print, 51% flirt. If we get that second green flirt, as we've been seeing, it really opens up the pacing here for Legorve. We're sending over a briefcase. I don't really know if it's possible to take, though.
Yeah, I don't think we want to do back to back fingerprints on briefcase. So we do opt for letting someone else go for it. And so we've been sitting in this worthless conversation for a little bit here. We are going to rejoin our ST in a moment here. There could be a
Wow.
lot going on here.
No! It's a cough! We're so dead.
Oh, it's so obvious too, unfortunately, too. General, one of the worst coughs. Maybe like the worst, because I don't know, people have talked about cough stuff,
I
but
think this
she's
was
so
meant
tall.
to be a bug, for what it's worth. I think this was meant to be a reverse drive-by as entering the conversation. Now, Rov would have caught that too. We very clearly see Rov kind of angling to look for that type of bug. But it's very unfortunate for this to instead just be a cough and death.
Yeah, absolutely. And like a nice clear line to that cough as well. Like sometimes, because you can't anticipate coughs and you normally don't really care about catching coughs, we could have been possibly behind the pillar. But like you said, if we were lining up to protect the bug, we were already lining up to protect the slot that General was in and just happened to catch this red time or this red cough. So unfortunate there for Legorve. And if that's true, by the way, that we were trying to go for bug and not for contact, that's 2 action test priorities potentially in a row for Legorve here in critical moments. And that really could be a problem if that's coming down to it for nerves.
Oh, for sure. Moving on, Rob now 3-1. We go into our last round of Ballroom. One sniper game and 1 spy game each. Rob now on the spy side playing as Queen. Well, let's get it started. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. And to answer your question, Slappy, I don't believe we have Legorve spelling anything out unless you can think of something that starts with DG.
Yeah, I don't know, like Daddy Genine.
Daddy Genine. I don't think I've heard of that one before, so I would be surprised. Let's put it that way. Do you even have enough letters for that over the course of this?
It's just, well, it could just be DG, DG, DG the whole time, but we'll see.
I feel like that might be kind of predictable.
Yeah, that's true. Um, But yeah, no. The other kind of problem we might hit is look, or Rob's spy can be a lot better if he has a lead because then he's not trying to play super slow as much. Like he'll take more risks and he'll actually play against type a little bit more if he feels like he's got slack. Now, of course, we only have one spy break of slack, so I don't expect it to fully be there, but it can kind of cascade for Rob. I wonder if there's probably metrics somehow of like players elasticity or resistance to comebacks, and I'd be curious if Rob was up there. We do hit a contact. It's pretty good. Scattered conversations. Two conversations with the DA in them. It doesn't seem like there's gonna be a huge reaction from Legorve.
I would say your resistance to comebacks comes down a lot to your sniper win rate. If you have a very, very high sniper win rate, you're going to be more resistant to comebacks.
It's true, as long as your spy is decent. Because like, let's say you're just 100% sniper win rate, or not 100%, because 100% there is impossible to come back from. But really high sniper win rate, but people can break your spy pretty easily. Then maybe just one bad venue is enough, but not really so much the case for Rav there. So we'll see. Although right now, so far, very standard from Rav, not putting the hardtails before the softails. And in fact, we are probably going to cross conversation, flirt, and then bail out and maybe grab like a fingerprint or inspect or something, come back, flirt again, and then do a hardtail, as per Rav tradition. Oh, we're actually not going to. We're not going to even take that cross conversation for. We really wanted to flirt to get it at all.
Yeah, 1 minute, 10 seconds left on the clock. Something. We're low on time. We need to find mission progress. The standard Rav, refrain. Of course, we've seen Rob to get to mission win countdown despite that twice, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it again.
Yeah, and by the way, we've been prevented from doing what I consider to be the Rav tell, and this is a common tell across a lot of players, but like briefcase redirects into flirting, right? Is normally if we have those little moves that Rav's been putting in them, we
can run
could on our way out.
I think we kind of have to. We're really low on time. We're requesting a drink, which is very interesting. Oh, we're requesting a drink, and then we stutter stepped to stop Toby from coming to us, and then instead go to the ambassador. And look at this, our ST comes to us. What is Rav? What
requested seduction?
Yeah,
requested drink.
Introduction. We're gonna go for this print. We're gonna go for a white purloin into finished prints, I guess is the goal. But we know we run on bug. We do it. We don't go for the prints at all. But
I think this is. Oh, we do a sneaky highlight. Oh, that redirect might have killed us. Oh my god. All right. So did that actually kill us? Because I thought
Legorve was screwed. Legorve finally seeing the white purloin.
Gotcha.
Like the purloin was not visible for not easily visible anyway for a good chunk of time there because of the way that the angles were working out with Toby walking. Holding the tray slightly downward in the other direction from the sniper makes it slightly more difficult. And of course, then that walk through the conversation, that's something that Legorve is going to, latch onto. So as soon as he sees that for sure that the print is gone, the purloin is gone, it's something that you shoot for. I thought it was interesting that we went this is such an interesting play from Rob. I just think it's too late in the game. When we have 20 seconds left, it's not the time to be going for prints by requesting the Toby and then letting the ambassador take a drink and then getting a print off that drink, right? That is a very clever play. It's very smart. It's very hard to detect as the sniper because it's not like a normal request where it goes straight to the spy. It just goes to the spy's area. So for all of that, very clever stuff, it's just not the time for it. Now, we still almost get there because of our ST just plopping in right next to us. Like, this is really the saving grace, of course, is that ST. Because if we don't get that, there's no way we finish this game in time, unless we, get to, last-second flirt and overtime kind of thing. So very, very fortunate for Rav to even really make mission win countdown with how that played out. Of course, the request over from Toby is some level of setup intentional from Rav, so I can't put it all down to the ST, but same thing as we usually see from Rov is that it's these late finishes that do almost work a lot of the time, but they would probably be stronger if strung together across the entire game.
Yeah, or like you're saying, if we had done this at like 1 minute in, and then the aggression just caught us off guard, and we were just actually narrowing, we used the purloin to narrow the party rather than find the shot. That would have been that could have slipped under, right? Because like that, for example, that Legorve highlight onto us instead of shooting might have just been like what it looked like a stealth highlight by us moving over, by just us trying to track whatever the last mission is because the mission count was off. So agreed. Or if we had snuck into fingerprint before that, and it was we either hit this green purloin and it's great because it's green purloin, or we get this white purloin
I
and then
think
we
we had.
fingerprint at the same time.
I think if we had a fingerprint previously, I think we just go for the white purloin and fingerprint and just try to make that the finish.
Right. Yeah, and that would have been pretty compelling as well.
Or just take the regular print and go for the bug instead without the purloin. I think that
Right.
might even be better. But as it is, Legorve manages to find the shot on Rov once again. It's always a little bit close, but you know, it's totally fine here from Legorve right now. Totally fine, even though we still need to find a spy win, given that we are behind. Speaking from Legorve's perspective, now playing as Irish here in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
When you were saying
recommend
totally fine, by the way, I was thinking of that dog in the fire
in the
thing,
fire,
but
yeah, the
but
fire
but
game.
like just lasers all over the place, and it says like I just need one
Oh,
spy
I need
win
to make
versus
this win
Rov.
now.
Totally fine.
Oh, we go for
Instant
the
swap.
immediate swap. Look at Rob. Rob's on the way other side of the venue. Did we get the memorization off before, like, when this happened? We pick
I
up the
don't
highlight,
know.
of course, but that's normal. We do only 2 cycles. We have 2 missions done in the first 30 seconds against Rob, and one of them is a hardtail, and we're not dead yet.
Yeah, and this is good. Where if so, what Rob is probably more familiar with is somebody trying to instant swap and then just go contact and seduce twice and try to finish the game with like 2 minutes left on the clock or something crazy fast. You don't need to do that. If you threw off Rob's mission count, you can take the rest of this game patiently and just string together the win. And like make yourself very obviously not bugging. So what we have to do, you have to avoid bugging, you have to avoid fingerprints, you have to avoid looking like you are taking microfilm out, and then you just don't purloin unless you feel like you have to late in the game. And then Rob, if he's thrown off by this, just won't shoot, right?
Oh, I think
Well, there you go.
finally found this swap. It took us a little while, but we finally realized, oh, there's been a swap, and took to take the shot. Very nicely done from Rob. Had the memorization, remembered who was there, and does take the lead out of Ballroom 4-2, going into Gallery, which we expect to be fairly Rob favored. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the instant swap strategy is good. Also, the kind of strategy that can maybe um, throw some uncertainty into future games, like just trying to rush something every once in a while. Like in a 12 game set, probably good for you to do an instant purloin swap or something like that in time of chaos, just to make them like a little bit nervous for the rest of
Yeah,
the
and it
rest of
can
the set.
work. So.
Yeah, and also yeah, it can work.
All right, Rob now on the spy side on Gallery. That single gallery in 3, 2, 1, playing it. And Slappy, I want to be fair. I've been talking a little bit about how one of the big issues with Rob Spy is the time management and how we're always down to the last second, and that is clear. However, we've seen that these are turning into very close shots for Legorve every single time, and so I want to talk about what makes this strategy good, right? Um, and one of the big things that sticks out is that we're not really doing anything to get shot until the very last second, and once we're in that last second, we're in mission win countdown suddenly, right? And so, there's a very, very short window of, having the suspicion gain for the sniper to find a shot in. And that is what can be so effective. Like, it's a very similar thought to rushing, is that if you get the sooner your mission win countdown, the less time the sniper has to shoot you, but it backloads it to the end of the game, where I'm not doing anything to get shot for most of the game, right? So they're not going to shoot me. But if I do something right at the end of the game, like two or three things, bam, there it is. Now you have to shoot me immediately. And so that is the big thing that does make this style effective. It just is a very, very brittle style in some ways. You need some, you need the party to line up a little bit more often. You need to be able to execute it very, very well in the end game, and which Rob is able to do. So just really wanted to talk through the, advantages of this strategy since we've gone through some of the disadvantages so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a memory test where if you're forced to think through that decision during the 10-second mission win finish, where okay, I'm gonna set up almost like a timeline where it's okay, this person's timeline. They did this, they went to statues, then went to another set later, they might have fingerprinted or something like that, as you're kind of like pulling together the case for just shooting them then. And if that case isn't strong enough, or let's say there's multiple other guests at the party that also have a similarly strong case, and you would rather say, I'm going to risk them being done for maybe some proof positive on one of them or my other top suspects. You force that out. So far, both snipers have seemed to use the full 10-second window very well, which is actually just a great piece of just general advice because I will often shoot unnecessarily quickly into my 10-second window. But they have really taken advantage of that time to parse out, and so far it's worked out for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very high level play here, as we expected. Rob now done with the flirt and the two flirt. And what did I say, Slappy? It's 1 minute 20 seconds on the clock. We have to get 3 missions done, and that's a little bit harder on Gallery than it was on Ballroom because there's, it's a little bit more spread out. You can't get statues all in one. The Ambassador is a little bit less likely to just be somewhere you can get a bug off. So this is going to be a little bit dicey, I think, with Rob. I think we might be going for something like a purloin into a direct microfilm if I just had to take a guess at it from where we're standing. Additionally, the double agent coming back here. We do take the purloin option here. Now we're going into not statues. We're going outside. We're trying to bounce. I don't know what we're doing. We're going to statues.
Yeah, I was gonna say those bounces were not very compelling to me as far as like redirects. I mean, we'll see what the purloin is gonna be the big moment here, and I
Yeah.
don't think we're
Okay.
gonna
This is
watch the
this
other
is this
parts
is a
closely.
printable statue, so that is kind of the thing here. Unfortunately, Double Agent not in conversation. However, I think we will be getting a print off this blue bookcase, so we could very well go for either a print into microfilm direct or print into a bug since we have the ambassador right here. Yeah, print into bug. It does appear to be the play. It fails because the ambassador has to move away. So I think now the play you can't just chase the ambassador. You have to go for this green bookcase, and that's what we see from Rob turning right back around. I think this is going to be enough for Legorve to shoot, unless there's just enough distraction from the other parts of the party. We're wait no no we're just waiting for the book to go back in. It's all right. Legorve has it.
Yeah, and that time we don't even wait for OT just in case something else has it. Like, because I think you're right where we followed up on that pretty well. I want to see where we even. I want to see if I would be worried for Legorv on like possibly missing a bug if there's like any way that bug could have taken. I would be. No, I guess Ambassador walks directly in their spot. So because like I was gonna be worried for Legorv waiting for that last second shot, because it would have been missions would have ended around 3 seconds left. But I guess actually no. Like now I'm looking at it, there's lots of separation there between us and Ambassador, and well calculated because not actually. Again, this is not a bad finish from Rav. I was gonna say that I was a little bit concerned for Rav because gallery so much of the time you have to kind of you have to be aware of the options that the party are giving you, especially relative to like invisible bugs. Because if you try to force a bug at the last second, there's probably a bug at some point in the game on gallery that you could have gotten it nearly invisible or just really well. And by not doing that when you could have, you're forced into these other situations. But we do use the purloin into fingerprint really well.
I'm not as convinced by this one from Rob. Of course, like we did find a way to potentially get to mission win countdown. It just it felt and like, to be clear, it's a commitment of how high level that a high level Rob's playing at, that even the clunkiest of these finishes, because I feel like this was a clunky finish from Rob. This is a pretty good finish. It's not terrible. Like, it's like I'm saying this is clunky, but that's in Rob terms. But against someone like Legorve, I don't think this one is going to work that often. But then again, that's the same thing I said about that one game on Ballroom where Legorve found a miss shot. So
Yeah, it's true. Well, I think the things I liked about it were we had a low contingency where we had like three different ways to get out of it if we wanted to. It would have been even better if we pushed that timeline up like 20 seconds because we could have finished with inspects or transfer or bug, or I mean, honestly, even or swap or something like that. Contact was still on the table if we really wanted to. So if we just were 20 seconds further up that timeline, everything else about those little moments, like we could have done like any other mission as a compelling finish, but we were kind of forced into either bugging or transferring by the timeline. But still,
All right.
good on Legorve for at least finding the shot and not getting.
Yeah, not getting confused. Found it. Was very confident enough to wait for to not wait for OT. Now Legorve on the spy side once again. Gallery, that very high sniper win rate on average, so it's going to be a difficult one, especially against Rav. But it is always a chance, and Legorve is taking that chance in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And if you had to think of like the way to break Rav on Gallery, do you think it's like getting an invisible mission passed? Because like I would feel like snipers have gotten pretty good at just being aware of the fact that there just might have been an invisible bug, and that just incorporate that into their general play. Or is it just something like just throwing together some sort of 50-50 and making it hard, like with the Purloin or something?
Throwing together a 50-50 against someone as good as Rav is never a terrible idea. It's just, even if it's not really a 50-50, even if there are other clues and hints to it might be you, if you can make it like a 70-30, that's still much higher than your expected value as on a spy win in a base game. So like that sort of thing is a very, very strong way to play. Just throw Rob into a 50-50 over and over again and say you have to get the 50-50 right every single time as much as I can. Uh,
Yeah,
but
totally. And we are going to be getting this quick flirt, and we actually are going to be able to get these flirts relatively free because Rav is giving up the front of the venue pretty strongly as Toby's up at the front as well as Ambassador. So making the play while Ambassador is kind of vulnerable-ish here at this spot. The other thing I wanted to note is we do have we are Salmon, which could potentially be swap blocks for Gallery. If any time I see Salmon or General on either Gallery or library, where there's the nice back facing statues that are a little bit tricky to get around, I think about swap block as a potential thing that we could be doing. We do hit the green purloin.
Yeah, green pearl. I like this timing because, of course, Ambassador is outside, so we're a little bit less likely to be perceived with that purloin. Unfortunately, we don't see any bouncing around, and then we do just get an immediately high lit for statues, of course, which is standard for Rav. But Rav fully on top of that reject, fully on top of that purloin, saw the fade even, and takes the shot. Even though the Ambassador was outside, Rav is just very good at handling multiple things at once.
Yeah, we really needed that purloin to bounce around a little bit, but that's what happens. Green purloin, sometimes they're short, sometimes they're long. Um, not a terrible decision, but it really did seem like it relied on a couple more things happening, like purloin bouncing.
Yeah. All right. Rav now on the spy side on Tayen, one of the more spy favored venues. Rav getting a pretty unlucky start with the Shoji, with everything being on the left side. That is, I think, considered to be the worst setup. The front two being on the same side is generally pretty bad for the spy, and then it being on the opposite side of the statues even worse because now statues are a lot harder to get away with. It's just it can be a very difficult setup to be on. So a little bit unlucky there for Rav, but let's get it going in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, no, completely true. Just because of like all the other things that can happen with the soji being mixed up, because as you're noting, like it's maybe not even so much that you can't see the statues. It's that purloin is just so much easier to track if you have one side of the venue that's not being hidden at any given point. Because like other than that, sometimes it goes between Toby going on behind one soji and you have to angle your laser and able to see it, going behind another soji, so you only have to be in this very specific spot to see it. So it just makes everything a little bit easier on the sniper side. But of course, it's still a very dense map, lots of missions around, very close, and it's still crowded where Ambassador can be pathing near you, get some free bugs. But that is gonna be a little bit trickier on Salmon.
Yeah, I think that my age-old suggestion has been to, if you hover over Toby, you can see the outline of the list potentially through a shoji, and so you can kind of like actively check on it if you want to.
Yeah,
But the snipers are good enough right now that I don't think I would want to implement that unless there was some kind of spy buff already.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We do get the kind of perfunctory, but still really good contact off. It looks like there was one, maybe two people out. I think it might have just been Twin, and the low light on Queen was for other reasons. But if not, still. And we still just need to bite for something else. So also, I will say that we've been talking about Rob's style. That maybe works the best on Tayen. Like
Oh,
it
yeah, for
just suits
sure.
his
Yeah.
style like really well because like stuff will just happen and he's willing to take some. Okay, there's a
Your bug and
that didn't
immediate
end up
stop.
working out, but that kind of stuff can just come to him and he can just decide when he wants to strike by standing still in a conversation.
Yeah, I think that this might have been a little bit better to go for as a Twitch bug. Twitch bugs have fallen. Actually, no, we're not in range for that. Never mind. But I was gonna say that Twitch bugs have fallen a little bit out of vogue in the past couple of years, but they can still be very strong in the right circumstance. But this is not one of them. We are not actually close enough for a Twitch bug to take. We are just barely in range for a standing bug, which is I think what Rob was going for. But because of the low light on to RST and the fact that we didn't really have much cover from the front of the conversation, it was pretty clear to Legorve. I just think that actually this is a relatively bad bug because of the angle that the sniper gets to take because of these shoji setups, right? The sniper gets to take this really far right angle and just get a nice wide angle on the party. And you were facing directly into them, which is going to be the best for them seeing this bug. So I think that this is probably not the best bug.
Yeah, no, I agree. We like the idea behind the bug, behind a veil of ignorance of bugging at some point, just a random spot ish in the game, and then just moving from there. Not a bad idea, but that particular timing, tall character, all that kind of stuff, ended up being, yeah, it's not all that compelling of a bug, which is great news for Legorve because this is, of course, one of the best opportunities that Legorve has to break Rov.
Yeah, Legorve not getting. I mean, getting a slightly better Shoji setup, but every Shoji setup would have been better than the one that Rav had. Not the ideal version because you would, the thing we always say about it is you want to have the first two offset. So you want the first one to be on one side and then the second one to be on the other side. That's going to create the most difficulty for the sniper. So we're not seeing a big difference in terms of Shoji luck, but Legorve has a slightly more ideal setup here. Let's get it going in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
The other nice thing that can happen with Soji setups is forcing Ambassador through corridors more often. I don't know about the back Soji how much that happens, but like if the Ambassador has to take windy paths near conversations, that's the best, right? Forcing that
Right.
often just gives everybody in that route kind of credit if they're not being able to guard it that much.
That's a good point. Very, very important point to mention that how the ambassador paths is going to affect, the amount of bugs available. 43% on the first flirt, not 51%, but we weren't close enough for that, so 43 is good.
Yeah, and speaking of Ambassador, I think Ambassador picks up middle statue twice, which is not ideal just for scattering stuff out there. It is going to throw a lot of suspicion on whoever visits center statue back there, if anyone else does, just because of how much density is going to be in that one little statue location. So curious with that. Okay, so we have a potential bug opportunity coming up here if we want to wrap around, but it doesn't look like we're going to take it. Irish is going to force Ambassador out. And no good compelling case for doing a reverse bug for
Yeah.
techs on the way past, unfortunately either.
Yeah, no, nothing really working out there for Legorve, but we do pick up a difficult fingerprintable briefcase. We hit that green. We've been seeing a lot of green tests from our competitors today. It makes sense. It is a trend that players at a higher level are going to have a higher green rate. Whether that is causative or not, or in which direction that's causative, is up for debate. On my personal opinion is that these are players who've played the game just a lot and therefore are going to have better green rates. But there is some level of like, oh, if you have a better green rate, you're going to win more often. So
Yeah, absolutely. Ambassador sprinkling another fingerprint in the back on the back statues, so we could try to go to a fingerprint on there. We are going to banana
banana
bread.
bread.
It's only going to knock out one, it looks like. So pretty
Yeah,
decent
very good
banana bread.
content.
Like great banana bread in any other venue, but
Whoa,
kind of
what?
almost standard. Interesting. Did we think that there was a bug that came through there?
There's no way because we had just taken a drink, right? And we were talking for the context, so there's zero chance that there was any sort of bug, and Rav knows that. Rav is not a person to kind of phantom that sort of thing when, there's so much evidence to say, hey, there's just not a bug here. So, I, I don't know.
Yeah, and because
I,
I was like, maybe the initial bug, but the first bug was so well pushed out by Ponytail that I don't feel like we thought we had bug credit.
I'm,
Maybe
I'm trying.
never seen a bug.
I'm trying to look into this game and figure out like what's going on, why this would be the case, because I don't see any egregious pathing errors. I don't see anything that like really sticks out behaviorally.
I
I'm
mean,
very confused. Like, and like, let's take stock. Yes, it was the correct shot for Rav, but that was really early. Rav does not like to shoot unless he's certain, and certainty usually comes in the form of some kind of hardtail.
yeah, no, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised as well. Like, there's a couple spots like maybe somehow we thought we got like a wrong arm bug at the very start of the game, which I could kind of see as if we in time of chaos
I
we
suppose if you
start
think we
bugging.
have maybe there was previously a print on the drink, but Rav thought that it did not go away before we got the drink, or maybe there was a print on the drink. Actually, hold on, I need to like go back now and look.
I
Was
don't
there
think
a
there
print on
was just because Ambassador was at statue so much.
the right? Yeah, no, I would be surprised if there was a print on the. Oh, goodness, what is going on? No print.
Yeah, no print on the drink because I don't think the prints that were in the game were just bookcase and statues because Ambassador actually spent very little time back in conversation circles in order to get drinks. So
Yeah, very
I mean, it
confusing
was the right
shot.
shot though. But you're right
Yeah,
that like it doesn't feel like a Rob shot at all. It feels like somebody else.
for sure. That's a shot that's just very confusing. Um, and whenever we see these kind of shots, I'm split between thinking, "Oh God, does the sniper just have their spy down and like is going to dominate, or are these cracks? Are these cracks that didn't punish this time?" Right? Those, they're both very valid options as for what is happening. Like if Rob is shooting that early, we might see that on an AI later. At the same time, Rob just might know Legorve, have studied this matchup, and is really confident, and that's scary.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Where it's the same kind of thing of like this is either that's either a really good indication for Rav or potentially them not actually waiting for full mission count because they're nervous. And if that's the case, that's a liability.
Yeah.
But
But
that's not
Rob
gonna be a
still in the lead.
liability on Veranda.
Yeah.
We can probably play these at times two speed. No, I'm just kidding. Every once in a while there are these cool spy wins on Veranda. I fully expect these to go both spies way, but maybe they every once in a while someone preps something that just catches someone off guard and they add it to the list of Veranda cheeses, but I doubt it.
All right, let's get it going. Rob on the spy side, 6-4 in favor. In three, two, one, playing it.
And of course, the big thing of Veranda is if you are able to somehow sweep Veranda, that's just it's just huge because
Oh yeah,
it's
for
just
sure.
so wonderful to get that passed, and it also is a good test of like the midway point of the match of how exhausted you are. Because if you like, let's say we saw that kind of shot from Rav during this game, where there's just like a way early shot without any like specific apparent proof positive, that would be a terrible indication of exhaustion.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is a good note there. That if it was happening on something like Veranda instead of something like Tayen, it'd be a bigger indicator in favor of, oh, this is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and Rob actually has played a decent amount of Veranda, and every once in a while, it's an opportunity for him to switch up his playstyle. That's not happening so far. And that's something that actually is worrying for a little bit for Veranda because you just, I mean, obviously you have to be aggressive at some point, but selecting those moments is going to be even more tricky when there's just like feels like there's never a good time to be doing anything on this venue.
Yeah, we are seeing the slow start again from Rob. However, there's a lot more time on the venue, so it's a little bit less punishing in that sense. Now the extra mission throws a wrench into the works, but we've seen Rav pull quick missions out in the past, and I would not be surprised to see it happen again here.
Yeah, and it's curious that Rob seems to be going for the seduction target leaves, so we will not be able to stay in the same conversation and finish flirt all the way through. So we'll be forced to go do something, presumably, unless we're gonna wait for. Nope, we are gonna walk away. But then that's the thing is like Veranda also breaks up a lot of things you can do here. So curious what they're gonna go for first. Looks like it is gonna be a microfilm. Um, if Toby finishes this area, Toby probably is going to leave here pretty soon. I don't know if they have any offers. So I guess Kane still has an unfresh offer. No, sorry, Red Dress.
Yeah,
So
got a couple of
maybe we could get a microfilm out here. We're spending a
no.
lot of time.
Oh wow, that's really on screen potentially. It
It
was a green test,
is.
but if it's on screen, it doesn't matter if it's not being looked at, and there is the ambassador on the other side of the venue. So, like, look, it may be on screen. Sometimes it's gonna happen, but the sniper can't see everything at once. They can't perceive everything at once. There's a lot of research going into that. I actually once started reading scientific papers about attention for this game. But the point is that it doesn't matter if it's in your field of view. Maybe Legorve was looking at green dress for a bug at that moment, and that means it's clean. We also have a time ad. This is our first one from Rav, I think, this entire set, despite the slow play. And I think it's well timed, if you'll forgive the pun.
Yeah, no, that is one of the big things about Veranda is that I think it probably has the most time ad area, except for maybe Aquarium, just because of how huge those areas are. But relative to the play space,
Banana
there's lots
bread.
of time ad spots, and it's one of the things that you can use to throw some problems out there. We're gonna fire off a fake. This is actually an interesting fake for a Veranda. Usually banana breads are kind of just they skew real because there's two other SDAs and there's so many scattered conversations that you just might as well go real.
Oh, we picked the low
We do
light
get the
though.
low light.
And I think Rav probably will have felt that because that was a very, very obvious laser movement onto us, and there's no reason that we would be a highlight. I was about to say that Rav feels like they might be in a pretty precarious position because the party's been quite slow overall, which I think is why we went for this time out in this fake contact. But with a low light on the board, this could be, Rav not, it's still a long set, so not quite putting away, but really cementing chances.
Yeah, and notice here there was a oh no.
Oh
Oh
no,
wait,
wait,
no,
wait,
wait,
what's
no.
going on? I'm so confused. Legorve!
What is happening? Yeah.
I
That
saw
was such an interesting reflex to get it back. So we and we're in motion, so we actually I think we missed that regardless of the low
Yeah,
light,
we'll
just because we
we'll
happen to be
we'll,
in
we'll
motion
have
at the
missed
time.
that for sure. Being in motion is really tough
Are we
for
get
both
this bug
sides.
too on the way out? Oh my god. I think we are. I think we're just gonna have to go for this bug on the way out. No, we're just gonna
Go
do
for bug
standing
while
bugs.
standing.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Because that's the one thing I was worried about. Is like, okay, so we actually do have to do even with this low light. The ways you can mess it up are with like, you are a swapping or do a purloin, you just get brought back up, and then you have to do something else as well. But now we actually have this.
Yeah, we have to
Okay, we're doing
request
request
drink
and
though. Yeah.
contact.
Contact and Purloin. No, we don't finish the request. We let it go to someone else first. Oh my goodness, it's down to 20 seconds. We needed that time of course, but we're a low light. It's got to be a green test. It is. We've seen such consistent green testing out of these Purloins. It's a white contact. But
Banana bread.
if our taker is taken out from the Purloin, but look at this. We're looking at the other side of the venue. 6 seconds to see the Purloin and find a shot onto a low light. I don't think it's gonna happen. Slappy Davis, this is a spy win from Rob on Veranda.
That is astounding. So, I mean, I will harp on Veranda all day, but I like this play because of all things, what it came down to was taking a risk on the contact. Because fake contacting, the other reason that players don't do it as much is you have a really good chance of just having an SDA in with you, right? Like fake contacts just most of the time, even just statistically when the contact comes off. Let me actually go look at this at the fake timing. We get the low light around here. So when we fire up this fake contact, there are three conversations with a double agent in it. We know which one is, and then we have a 50-50 chance of being in with the double agent because we have no idea where the other two are, right? So two conversations have a double agent in, and two conversations don't. So this might have just like not worked out very well at all because we could have gotten contact credit. But we do take this risk in order to see if Legorve goes for some of the low hanging fruit of, well, actually, I might low light the conversations without a reel in it, or sorry,
Mhm.
without any reel in it, and it works out.
Yeah, and I think this is another strong aspect of Raw Spy is some players when they're playing slow and they receive that low light, they won't be able to find the finish despite being low lit. Rav will, and Rav definitely felt that. If we go back and look at it, there's a very clear laser movement to both Rav and Smallman. Shortly after this fake contact, and a high when you've played thousands upon thousands of games, you understand laser movement, you understand when you're high lit, you understand when you're low lit. And I think Rob just had the green light there. And what an incredibly played game. A bit unfortunate for Legorve, who is now down 2 spy wins and is in desperate need of something, anything to start clawing back into the set, or else we're going to see Rav win this Grandmaster finals.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the path begins on Veranda, which needs something to come together kind of crazy. Like, I mean, we just did see a spy win, so it happens. There's that 10% in the 90-10. So we'll see if it works out.
Yeah, Legorve on the spy side, needing something. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And the bummer is because like that's such a good
Oh, we
way
go for the
to,
bug. I think that might have been seen though.
yeah, and the
It was a
walkaway as
chaos bug.
well.
Well, hold on. Maybe Rob thinks we couldn't have, we didn't look like we were very close to the ambassador there, because of how much it was just a car crash right there with the ambassador just then, and we kind of bounced away, in that scenario. So we might be actually on the lower list of people that we need to look at for this contact for this bug rather. And yes, it was visible on screen, uh, but if we got that bug clean, I think this could be the start of what Legorv needed.
Yeah, if we get the bug clean, the only problem, of course, is that we do have the five missions, and what that usually means is, let's say it was a 4 mission map, 4 mission venue, you could string together soft tails and then just close it out from here. That would be kind of tricky at this point. It seems like he's got to do one more kind of interesting thing that puts ourselves at risk, and then maybe just do the soft tails from there out. Because even with the count off by 1, if we just go, we inspect, we fingerprint, we contact, and we flirt. If we just do all 4 of those things, we just might get shot anyways, just for all the activity that would require.
Yeah, but it is a big venue, and these things can happen. What I will say is that last time we had a clean bug, the only reason that Legorv didn't win that game is because of action priorities, which, by the way, is stinging a lot more right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We do not go for the time ad here. We might need one at some point. So now the kind of compelling case for Legorv is going to be, we could go do 3 soft tails plus purloin in part of a good chain, because if Sniper feels comfortable, they will probably not shoot for a purloin chain. If you were able to get in on it, if they zoom in super closely on purloin, maybe they still just kill you anyways, for seeing the type of fade that it is. But if we get in there early enough, that's another potential way, because snipers don't love shooting. Oh, are we gonna stake the statue? We might just
This is
swap right
very
here.
tricky. This is very tricky from Legorv. We pick up this briefcase behind this conversation. We go in for the statue instead immediately, and we pick up the highlight. But we didn't pick up the highlight that Rob I believe is giving out for
For
no, not
fingerprints?
for fingerprints. I don't think we're giving out any highlights of fingerprints. Actually, I saw Kane with a highlight and thought it might be for the fingerprint, but instead we do just have the 2 inspects and potentially that print clean. If we do, that's another bit of mission progress that the sniper doesn't have, right? And I think that is more than enough to break Rob here.
Yeah, I actually kind of wish in some way that we only picked up that first inspect and walked away, because there's a chance that maybe we weren't actually seen at that statue
No, we
after the
were
thing.
seeing
So
pretty
like,
quickly, I think.
yeah, because like it's hoping you get away with one of the two. Because like, let's say you get the briefcase and you get the statue. Like if either one of those is missed, either the early part where you had the briefcase or the late part where you had the statue, then their mission count is gonna be thrown off by another 0.5, and then mission count being off by bug and half of a soft
No!
tail.
Oh
Oh, but we're
okay.
zoomed in. We're zoomed in.
Okay.
It's okay.
Resumed
Oh
it.
my
We
god.
resumed it on the purloin. So no problems there for Legorve quite yet. Unfortunately, we see Double Agent smudging the print on the other statue that the ambassador put it on, and the ambassador's now at bookcase and has taken out the book, so no opportunities there quite yet. What do we do here as Legorve? We have such good progress, but we're down to 55 seconds left in the game, and we need to find contact and one more print. Ambassador's back at bookcase. Legorve can see that, but the double agent is not in conversation and is instead doing a briefcase. Where does this double agent go? Are we going to go for this book? I think we're there a little bit too early. The ambassador is not going to put it back in time.
Just barely, by the way, that it was in ejecting time because like
Oh,
it's a slow
terrible.
animation. It is. So I think we're gonna put back and we're gonna take again. I think we
Oh,
have
that's
to.
so, yeah, we're so dead if we
Yeah.
do that, though.
That is such a bummer because honestly, like I actually don't mind the risk, so to speak, of if Ambassador starts putting back, and then like we start taking animation way before Ambassador puts back. It was pretty close. I mean, probably like a half a second, but
Mhm.
yeah, just no going in there. And then we had to do this kind of wacky put book back, grab book, get fingerprint, and then go contact. So
Yeah.
unfortunate there.
Very unfortunate for Legorve there, and that is going to leave us at a pretty brutal scoreline right now of 8-4 in Rob's favor. Rob still needs 4 more games to win the set outright, but Legorve just not feeling very good right now.
Yeah, but well, as we mentioned at the very beginning of this cast, Redwoods is going to show up later. We've got, let's say,
It's multiplied
Legorve could
Redwoods
sweep.
even.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Legorve
multiplied
sweeps
Redwoods.
Redwoods. We're good.
That's all it takes to sweep Redwoods. All right, can Legorve sweep Redwoods? Let's find out in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Rav on the spy side as Teal.
And of course, the problem with Redwoods is not only do you have to win the spy side, you actually have to win the sniper side, which is far less determined than on other venues.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Especially for Rob, this is it's another map that kind of suits Rob's playstyle because you're always dangerous on Redwoods because of how dense the map is. So you can get behind it, you can kind of find your way to interesting finishes, kind of at any point in the game.
Yeah, and we've been talking about how mission density does benefit Rav, right? Because of the style of trying to get these things done really, really late in the game and finding, comboed missions. Redwoods is a venue with a very high mission density, so actually Rob's spy probably does fairly well on it on average.
Yeah,
We're
and
going
just in
for
case
pretty
people,
early progress though. Look at this white microfilm, and it's completely behind a tree.
it is behind a tree, and this is actually a great spot where if Sniper is giving up this to watch statues and microfilm, it gives up this blue book microfilm quite easily. So of course we do have to go to another microfilm in there, but because we have one microfilm piece in here, it means we're probably going to do inspects. We'll probably go pick up like a single statue first. We do have to figure out what to do with the microfilm when we go get that. We are going to be highlight here, I think, just for purloin potential. We don't actually pick up a delegate in here, so hopefully for Rav, they get brought back down after a little bit, at least. But we have to go pick up that microfilm and probably take the book out somewhere, unless there's something really compelling going on in the rest of the map.
Yeah, and we do have that highlight, of course, as you mentioned, for being at bar, which makes things a little bit more difficult. 1:40 on the clock. Where do we go next? We're gonna try to finish flirt, right? You have to imagine.
Yeah, and it looks like this light is sticking. It might just have been correctly a seduce cluster highlight as well. I'm seeing Legorve pick up some lowlights on Twin, walking through the side door as well. So right now we're the nice thing for Legorve is after you lowlight on Veranda, and you give up a spy win because of it, you might be really hesitant to take lowlights, but Legorve really needs those lowlights and needs to feel confident in those lowlights, so it's good to see them taking more still.
Yeah. So now our last flirt is done. 1 minute left on the clock. Pretty standard timing here for Rav. And we need our double agent out of conversation, which is going to make things a lot more difficult if we do not see that change in the next few seconds here. I think we will, though. Double agent heading into this conversation. Big for Rav. Huge. We'd go for the fake, though. And it is a perfect fake, to be clear. It's one of these scenarios where there's no reason not to take the fake. However, unfortunately, the SDA is in our conversation, so we do get credit for that.
I wonder if there's also just like that thing if you see a perfect contact, you just kind of like you might presume it's fake just a little bit. Like a higher chance of it being fake than normal, because if you're gonna take the real, you only want. Oh, we'd have a white swap. This I don't actually know if this
Yeah,
was just us
surely we
like
must be
messing
dead
up.
here. We don't have the time for this anyway. Um, like there's just we have to go for this weird bug in the middle of everything. We finally find it. It was covered up by trees, but Legorve understands what's happening here and takes the shot.
Yeah, and actually, so this is finally. We had talked about how Rob was able to find pretty good finishes in both their games. This is finally a messy finish. This is a messy finish. Like, of course, I think we wanted that green swap, unless I don't think we were trying to stab 50-50 with anybody. I don't think anyone else had been there making a case. Nah, that was just if we hit a green swap, then we have other kinds of stuff going on that we maybe do. But yeah, finally a messy finish. Hopefully, a pretty routine shot for Legorve.
Yeah. Seemed pretty easy. Legorve now on the spy side. We do have the step one of the Legorve Redwoods sweep to get back into this set, and it was sniping that. So hey, it's Redwoods spy side. We can do something here, right? Let's get it going in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, and this is the this is the first bar venue I think we've seen. I could be no, it is the first. It's the first bar venue we've seen, so we could see some Purloin shenanigans. Although honestly, they both these players seem to be pretty on top of Purloins if they need to be.
Mhm.
But of course, just a little bit of a difference there versus the trade Purloins.
Yeah, for sure. The tray purloin, it's a very different type of tracking. It's a little bit more akin to a contact than a bug.
Right. Yeah, and of course, just being aware of the conversation circles a lot more. Where okay, we are going to just do a straight up bug here. It's pretty
Wow, that
good
is
coverage actually.
aggressive. That's an aggressive move that you don't see at a high level very often. And we might be waiting to see Rob just like train in and shoot after that, right? They might just be waiting for the shot to be clear, but so far no. And okay, this is maybe a little bit overdoing it though. We have now cheesed this reject.
Yeah.
Oh wait, it's a regular reject.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't see the pickup on the part, but I also was expecting that. It was just like straight up aggression because I would have agreed. I think that would have been just slightly too much for us to try to cheese that bug and then go straight into it. That would have felt just like playing recklessly just in case something that could happen. But I like where we're heading right now. So we have picked up two independent statue visits. So we are probably going to visit three statues at some point, or of course just the other
Oh
microphone
no, we're
spot.
gonna go for a fake contact, I think here.
And in
It
the
would
red.
not surprise me at all, but the only person in here with us is the SDA. This is so unfortunate for Legorve. It's very, very unfortunate that the only guest here at this party that is in conversation with an otherwise really strong fake is the SDA.
Yeah, the only silver lining in that is it makes it seem less likely that Disney is the real, because it's kind of like they stand out so much that the spy normally would not want to actually do a real contact there. But then that would have to be there has to be something going on for the other conversations for there to be something else. And there's just a shot. Yeah, we have this lineup. I don't quite know what that's for. If it's just like a real late thing on the potential for the bug, or if it's just us being worried that something else had gotten past us. Because I
Yeah,
don't I don't know where the count is coming from on that.
I think. Well, I mean, I think the count partially has to be coming from a bug credit, right? We weren't 100% certain, but we saw the potential for a bug there, as Rov, and then I'm really not sure. We've seen this again twice now from Rov, and both times on venues where it can be very difficult to see things. So I think this is a very calculated risk from Rov, and this is just Rov being on top of Legorve's spy. And that's more and more evidence to that fact.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, the Redwoods sweep dream is over, but we can still make some progress with one win on Redwoods for Legorve. We'll start the clock over, Slappy. We're gonna have to win another Redwood sniper game.
Indeed, indeed.
All right, Rob on the spy side in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, and okay, so let's see. Ambassadors settle at bar. We pretty crowded bar. I don't think we're gonna fit in there, so we're just gonna sit at here at this window pad. Probably no actual time ads or anything like that. Seduction target's gonna be moving at the same time as us, so we're gonna wait for them to finish sip and probably join them in conversation circle. Actually, no, we try to anticipate, and it doesn't actually quite go the direction we were hoping. So we just sit far away from people in this back conversation circle, not getting credit with anybody, and actually would have been bad anyways because we'd have to join them at window. So nothing going on the first like inflection point, but I presume we're gonna go over take up that empty spot next to Wheels after somebody takes that briefcase. And
Yeah,
indeed, there it is.
and there it is. It's a cross conversation, unfortunately, but it's some flirt.
Yep, and then it's there's a few too many people out that I think that the contact's going to come out this early. So I don't think we'll see an early stab at that. It would have been kind of compelling otherwise. Actually, well, here we go. Now we have a pretty full. Now we should take this contact.
And the end of red.
Yeah,
And
here's
there
the
it is,
contact.
indeed.
Nicely timed. And a shot. Oh no! A shot comes off onto our ST here. What for? What have we got going on here?
Yeah, it's
Bug
tempting to
thread
call this tilt, but I don't. I'm trying to see.
tilt, exhaustion, something like that. Um, no, there's just not enough here for a shot to really come off.
I mean, because like the main thing is like, okay, so bug at the beginning is the thing that we're worried about, right? We're worried about the bug at the start, but that's still not enough. Even with the bug, even if Wheels had the bug, where's the rest of their finish at? And it's I think it's exhaustion and it being demoralized a little bit.
Yeah, that seems like that's the kind of shot that we're seeing a little Legorve here, and that does mean that. Well, look, I don't want to call it before it's over. We've seen some pretty crazy comebacks in the history of SpyParty, right? Especially in finals, especially in these long sets. However, it just does seem that Rav is playing better on the day-to-day, and Legorve is just, if we had a like percentage meter of how likely either player was to win the set, I would give Legorve sub 10% by this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 10%. Honestly, at this point is kind of generous because it's also a shot that's not that Wheels wasn't playing like Rav either at all. Like that just doesn't feel like a Rav game to finish that early after that kind of bug. So yeah, I think that this one's probably gonna be wrapped up and done. But like you said, what will happen sometimes is like if Legorve is able to just get some sort of like cheesy win on here, sometimes people get the wind back in their sails because they get something kind of fun. So I think Legorve mostly needs to find something that is like making them interested in the rest of this match and making them like earnest enough about finishing this set strong that they would have a shot at the comeback. So
Yeah,
really, hopefully something fun happens for them in this game, and then they'll probably get back into it.
I hope so too, because it's always very fun to see a close finals, but Rob has just been so good here. Let's see what happens in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And of course, like one of the most demoralizing things that can happen in finals is if you actually feel like you prepared pretty well, and let's say just like things aren't breaking your way on the day, and it's not even that you feel like you're playing all that terribly, but it's just like that things have to go your way and you have to be playing top. If things aren't going your way, that's some of the worst because they're like it's so hard to keep playing at the top level if you feel like the luck is just slightly against you.
Funnily enough, I actually feel the opposite, Slappy. If
Really.
if I'm playing well and I'm playing my game and I feel like I've played well, it's a lot less frustrating to lose a set. When I say, oh well, I got a little bit unlucky here. I made this mistake here that I can point at and say, okay, that was definitely a mistake, but otherwise I played really well. That sort of thing. By the way, we do have a really early purloin to a double agent.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the kind of thing that could be interesting in there. Like that is Legorv at least shaking it up a little bit because sends to double agent can sometimes throw the timing of the pro line recognition off. We are gonna gulp here. We're probably gonna try to finish this seduction and then pop
I have
out
to
to like
imagine that we've
statues.
seen the fact that the list is gone by now. We've had Toby in view a couple times. Yeah, there it goes. Here
And
it
the end of
comes.
red.
Ooh, contact right as double agent joins. Very nicely timed.
Yeah, it was a fake start, but then a real finish. And then we have these three. So now we've identified a few threats in here. Our seduction target now might be our best chance. A sim shot on seduction target might actually be the way through this.
Very possibly, but we do have 3 missions. I'd like to remind you. I know that the party's narrowed and that we're a highlight, so it's going to be harder than usual to get a mission by, and Softel is not likely to work just because of that reason. But there's absolutely a chance that Legorve finds a bug or finds something that's going to push this into a spy win.
Yeah, and so there's this interesting consequence of when seduction targets in the pool of possible finishers of you actually needing to kind of stay near them so that they look like they could be flirting with you. But at this point, I think we've done that. I think that we've Texas talked so many times
Oh, we're going
that
for the bug here, but I think it's
Rob,
visible. Rob's gonna have seen that.
I
7 seconds,
don't
but wait,
know.
we're off
He was
screen. We're
he.
looking for a swap from Duke here. That's not we weren't looking for the bug. Instead, the reverse drive-by gets through, and Legorve, after we had just called his chances sub 10%, finally breaks through and finds a spy win.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not be better timed. So, like we talked about, there's the three main suspects of us, Duke, and Tex, right? From kind of just like how the party had kind of just shaken out there. Now Duke was never actually at bar, but was in the conversation circles. Sorry, it was in the conversation circle at Contact.
Mm.
So they were just like kind of in there hanging out, and then Duke bails out to statues, and like you're saying, Rob is in motion, and then the trees are blocking as we get that bug off, and it's just actually beautiful. And I will also just note, Legorve has some nods at the end of the game, which make me happy, make me think that there's more fight in him. So
Yeah.
that's very exciting.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we do move on into a pretty tough venue to start finding more spy wins on. It is Courtyard. Um, so Rav here, still, of course, in the driver's seat. We're still 4 games ahead, and Rav is approaching that victory condition of 12 games. We are not very far off that. Only 2 more games for Rav to go. To be clear, Legorov does have to win every single game from here on out to win outright without tiebreakers. Like
Right.
that's like that like just we're in a tough spot as Legorve still, but it's some life. It's some life, and I am hopeful, especially because we are on the sniper side this time around. So Rav trying to close this out, but Legorve not quite letting him just yet. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And I will say, of the two players, I would give Legorve, not having seen him play on Courtyard for some time, I would give Legorve the Courtyard advantage because I think Legorve likes the kind of plays that suit Courtyard more than Rob does. I think Legorve is more aware of like little things and like just like abusing like blind spots on Courtyard. So we'll see if that actually comes into play, and that's more about their sniper side. I do know they used to have a lot of etiquette knowledge around Courtyard, but that might have bled out into the community more overall and not using that as much.
Mm. Yeah, it is going to be difficult on either side to get a spy win, but Rav, the for Courtyard in particular, it can be hard to find those combo victories that Rav has been doing so often this set.
Banana bread.
Because your plan is so often on Courtyard to get contact, flirt, inspect, and then one other thing, and because that's the plan on so many Courtyard games, doing inspects and then something else as your combo is just standard on Courtyard.
Yeah. And to note here, we have another perfect fake from Rav. And additionally, so where everybody's in conversation, we're the only conversation circle with, sorry, not the only conversation circle with SD. There's 2 conversations, and we're in one of them without the SD. So no SD credit and able to get no lowlights off of it. Probably not going to be all that important because Courtyard's one of those maps where you can get pretty great context all the time. But just noticing that Rav's setting off a lot of fakes in this set.
Yeah, and it, has worked out so far for him.
And it also, of course, like it messes with the responses because like normally snipers would like to have a reflex around, okay, am I going to take lowlights for out of conversation circle, or I'm going to focus in on potential finishes and or missions that it's used to distract from at the same time. On Courtyard, it's a little more direct. Like you can kind of quickly assess what things are in threat that the contact could cover,
Yeah.
especially that one that early. But yeah, just good to fire this off.
Comes a request from Rav, probably printable. No, not printable. We're just gonna go for a purloin here, and it's a white test. So this might just be, your typical Courtyard death of white test, purloin, and die. Yeah, there it is.
Yep. You're completely on it right there, and of course, taking that kind of risk is important. So let's see. So um, there was a reject from double agent into a take from general into us taking, and it was just a
It seemed
just
like
a
pretty
good.
good timing on Legor's rotation if it had been a green test.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, so Legorve able to pick up a pretty solid victory on Courtyard. But now, of course, is the bigger test.
Yeah, here's the real test. If Legorve wins a spy game, I'll start getting excited. All right, so
Oh, totally. Yes. No. Like, yeah. That is the guy's great way to put it. We'll see if we can. We're allowing ourselves to get excited because a two-game thing where one person's coming from behind also starts like swinging some of the exhaustion momentum.
Mhm.
So absolutely could be huge.
All right, Legorve on the spy side. Here it is. It's really the big one. This is the make or break. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And we are gonna be orange sorry. So uh, uh, sometimes Legorv likes to do a lot of the dip into a statue swap and then walk away from it,
But we're a
or
little too
sometimes
slow for
just
that in this case.
yeah, and then that's gonna be tricky. But this is more likely, yeah, gonna be like nice bug opportunities potentially for Orange Sorry, of course, on Courtyard. See how the party settles in. So we actually have like this is kind of interesting shaking out where everyone's going. Kind of all usually there's like someone in kind of every conversation circle on Courtyard, but we've kind of condensed down into three. We are gonna fake
Mainly
here.
red.
It's not the perfect fake that we saw last time, but it's pretty good. It does unfortunately knock out red right as they're going in picking up inspects,
Mhm.
but it is going to of course throw some suspicion, especially onto Disney here, who during that contact window was also next to Ambassador.
Yeah, I think Rob had covered that, so we're not necessarily in danger of seeing a miss shot onto Disney. However, having that fit contact, as we talked about this last game that Rob played, can put some doubt into the sniper's mind. Plus, our SDA did bail from the conversation, so there's some level of maybe Rob thinks that our conversation doesn't have it, which is good because we don't actually have it.
Yeah, we're gonna see making sure that
Oh,
there's a rotation. He's gonna
we're
do
still going
exactly
for it,
what I was
and
talking
it's
about
working.
before.
It's working. It's working. Wait, but what's going on?
Oh,
It's
oh,
working. It's perfect. There was no rotation at all. We got the swap off, and we're just there. Holy moly, Legorve, Genine finding it. You called it, Slappy. We thought that there was not enough speed on this character for that move, but now
it's shut
look
up
at that.
tap because the
Shut
smoke.
the tapped.
Oh my god. Okay, so now we officially can get excited again.
We're officially excited.
Wow, this is fabulous. So I will say you like Gorv loves this. Like you actually have to watch out for you have to check your statuses all the time, even though it's annoying, even though you might lose some games because a bug get in there. Well, Gorv is actually really good at exactly this movement. But like we talked about before, it's actually not as normal for you to do this as Sar because you want to get like ponytail is like a great example of someone quick, small, easy to get in, you not and thin, so you can get around the edges, right? But Legorv able to find it, and in fact, so it looked like Legorv actually wasn't expecting it to go that well, and in fact was going to swap, and then was expecting Rov to rotate right and see the side statue swapped. But Legorv notices there's still no rotation and that we're still blocked. Really good thing there from Rov because I actually don't think we necessarily win that game if we get seen there because if it's been that long, we could expect that orange dress is the one that had done it. So
Yeah.
heads up play from Rob or from Legorv there, and Rob just shoots the person, assumed that this is the only person that could have swapped, and it works out perfectly.
Yeah, what an incredible move, and a little bit, maybe a little bit of that exhaustion there from Rob. The fact that we did not see a rotation there for that long, that's not a mistake that a player with Rob's caliber is likely to make that often. And this is a long set. We've seen two games dropped from Rob back to back. Can we see a third? Let's find out. But we have to find out after this Modern game. We have doubled Modern right at the end here. Oh my goodness. Slappy, are you ready?
Yes, so ready.
Let's get it going. Rav playing as wheels in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And the other thing that's just nice is this at least redirects the set away from being a route because it was
Yeah.
on its way to being a route, and now it's not. Now it's even if Rob just takes these last two games, 12-8 feels so much better than what was looking like 12-5, 12-6 or something like that at some
Yeah, for
point.
sure. And like it's just very, very well done from the Gorov to keep that spirit, to keep it going. we always talk about the possibility of a comeback, but sometimes, it can be easy to not really believe in the possibility of a comeback. You say, oh, yeah, well, it's possible, but, eh.
Yeah, but
And
like you're saying, like it sounds implausible. Like, okay, back to back Spy wins versus Rov just doesn't sound right.
yeah, no. Like, Legorve has won 4 games in a row.
Yeah, this is really great stuff coming out here, and it's coming out the right time where now we're gonna put some pressure back onto Rav a little bit. Like they have the lead, but emotionally this is gonna it's gonna get tricky. And we are just kind of looking around, seeing what we can do here. Looks like we're going to blue bookcase.
Yeah, I like
Um,
this. Wheels is a particularly good character for microfilm in general, and this is also fingerprintable.
Yeah, we might try to do both at once. Let's see what the threats are. Ambassador's pretty well covered, so we're probably not going to try anything near just because we might be watching near for Ambassador. Bar hasn't been all that active, it seems.
Clappy,
So,
I'm
ooh,
sorry to interrupt you, but I just remembered something. If we hadn't action prioritied the inspect on that ballroom game, it would be even right now.
yes, I know, right? It is. That's the thing is like hopefully Legorve isn't thinking about that at all right now at that
I
point.
don't think you probably are. If you've just won 4 games in a row against Rav, like that's not the kind of thing you think of in a moment of joy. That's the kind of thing you like. If you lose, a game and you're and it drops to Raw is now in a drawing position at the very least, going to overtime. Then you're like, oh dang, if I hadn't lost that. But after winning 4 games in a row, you're probably okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been like you're saying, like let's say it was a sniper party, except for that, right? And that was the only spy game you dropped, or sorry, that was the only sniper game you dropped. Sorry, that was the main chance you had to break. And like it was just
There you go.
grueling sniper party, except for that, and you had their one break opportunity, and it was that would have been pretty tough. But the fact that we have a couple other spy wins in there sprinkled in does indeed make that a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, and this is a bit more typical of a game from Rav in terms of like when we think of slow spies, this is more what we think of. Oftentimes, getting the early print, getting some flirt, getting some progress, and we're gonna wait for the ambassador so we get the next print.
Yeah, no, curious how much heat Legorvis can be putting on wheels here for the fingerprints so far. Nothing too crazy with the fingerprints, and whether or not we're gonna put anything
I
on there for the
I
arriving
want to
just
see if we
after.
do if we do a stealth highlight. Okay, we don't do any highlight at all. I thought we might do a stealth highlight there, and that would have told us a lot.
Yeah, we'll be able to finish up the select target with no problem here. And the question is whether or not we send in the same motion as we walk away, and presumably could try to find contact.
Is
So
not in conversation right now, but could be heading there right. Yeah, is heading to one.
yeah, so I think we're
No,
gonna yeah.
no, is going out to Windows. That could be
So
a
we
problem with 35 seconds on the clock.
Exactly, and so we send to Taft, assuming that we'd be able to go contact right as the purloin's coming off,
Is this
because
going
that's
to
what
be
we want to do is want
a?
to snack
Oh,
up. It's
this is
microfilm,
right near
microfilm
microphone
cheese.
phase. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Do
I
we?
don't know if things are dense enough in terms of other activities in the game to get away with this. We're gonna go straight from blue to green, and yeah, look at that immediate rotate over, immediate shot. The Golf has won 5 games in a row to bring this back within one.
This is a wonderful wonderful turn of events. This is just so much fun to see. I am curious what would have happened if we were able to do the contact and ascend, because it would have been like not definitely not impossible to find, because we had two very clear fingerprints. We were in the purloin region, and then we would have been contact at the same time. It's basically whether or not the purloin would have been covered by the contact. And yeah, because honestly, like we've talked about this before. If we had that contact come off, it would have been like with like, ooh, I mean, we would have waited for the purloin, so actually it would have been a little bit longer. But the finish would have been around 10 seconds, and we might have thought it was just an induced shot or something like that. So
Right.
yeah, alternate universe. I'm curious how this game would have ended up, but Legorv able to find the spot that Rob was pushing for with that microfilm.
Yeah, and now we're here. Can Legorve Genine win 3 SpyGames in a row against Rov late in a Grandmaster finals match to even the score? We're playing as Seek. Let's get it going in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Modern's not the hardest sniper venue to get a spy win by, but it's not the easiest either. It's not, it's no Redwoods. Oh no!
Oh no!
No! Immediately, the hopes are dashed, Slappy. We red test a microfilm right at the beginning of the game and get shot. That is devastating. Oh.
Oh my god, that is it, that's horrible. And but like the thing is, I would say there's like nerves and stuff like that. But like honestly, I think Legorve's feeling pretty good at this point. And also, we have the presence of mind to. So this part might look like a mistake to some people. The tapping out of a red test and taking the sway motion of a broken microfilm. But a lot of players think that it's better to take the broken microfilm animation than it is to take the red
I
test
think
because
I
the red
prefer the
test is
broken
so.
microfilm animation if you walk away. You
Yes,
have
yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
you have like, if we do it just at the bookshelf and stay at the bookshelf, it's gonna be so obvious. If we walk away with it, it's still pretty obvious. It's not a good animation to be doing in the at the start of the game, but it's gonna look a little bit less egregious just because it's gonna move into your walking animation. There's a little bit more movement in the before and after of the the bad animation that Sniper might be like, did I see that? Or just miss it entirely? So I think the slight mistake there is that we don't just walk away from that. But when you're in that scenario, it's a high tension moment, and you've just blundered a red test at the start of what could have been the equalizing game. It's hard to think clearly in that situation, and you don't have much time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel like what this must be is going for the green test, and it's like one of those green tests at the edge, and it's an edge
Mm.
miss.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
yeah, it just kind of feels like that because like it's just the other thing with like the lean back, and this might be for players that haven't played as much Spy Party. Um, you might not still have caught this tell, but one of the things that makes things like coughs and the microfilm baleen so easy to spot as sniper is it moves. It's a faster movement than like anything else the characters do because like everything else is like very gentle and it's got like this slow kind of motion as you pick up the statue, put the book pack. It's got the thing. There are very few things that happen quickly, and there are things like cough, where the hand immediately comes up, and the lean back, which is very quick. So they just kind of stand out versus the rest of the party. So it's very unfortunate. Um, what's funny to say also is the right after that we try action test and we hit the white.
Yeah.
So even if the lean didn't get seen, it would have been a white after the time of chaos, or not the time of chaos, but like early enough in the time of chaos that maybe we don't get seen for that other spot. So we're probably gonna die anyways.
Yeah, very unfortunate there for Legorve, but now Rav is one game away from winning Grandmaster Finals. Legorve has to sweep here to bring us to overtime, or else the season is over with Rav as champion. Let's see what happens in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Oof. We are gonna pick Seek. I don't think we're mirroring with any specific intent here, but it is gonna be a mirror indeed. Select targets super far away. Bar is completely booked up. I think we might drop into this bar after these first couple people clear up because seduction targets can take a long time. Oh nope, we're Rob. We like seduction target. It's too much. We get a low light. I don't know what that's for at
That's not
all.
good. That's really bad. If that low light sticks, I think this is the set.
I don't even know what that possibly could have been for, except for like behaviorally, like you're walking away from an open spot on the bar. But I can't feel like that can't be it. It has to be something weird, like going to a really. It is a far flirt on this front conversation, to be clear. So just going to a not very useful position as your first motion is not a Rav like thing to do, but we do get that little bit of hurt credit. So, like you're saying, if this sticks, this is going to be almost certainly over because Rav's not going to time out a Modern.
Yeah, it's very unlikely that's going to happen here. And it's just, I think we have seen Legorv get more aggressive and more risk-takey as the set has gone on and the disadvantage has been seen. But and to be clear, it's worked out. So it's not like this low light is bad in that the strategy is bad. It's just bad that it's not good timing to be low lighting the spy.
Yes. Of all the times to be low lighting the spy, game point is the worst time.
Oh, look at this. I'll highlight joining us. But she does have a book, so we might not want to delegate there.
Yeah, because especially if Rob does get a delegate off, yeah, and there is this delegate, so and it does look like there's no people in front of her, so it's gonna happen. Um, and so the saving grace for a moment was Rob has no reason to believe that they're low lit, at all. Unlike the veranda low light, where they kind of are hoping for a low light in some case.
Yeah,
So of course, we could get bumped back up if we remember who was at bar. This is the big opportunity for Seek to get brought back up, but it
right.
doesn't look like that's happening.
It's very difficult to remember people when they have been a low light, right? You train yourself to not pay that much attention to them. And that means that we're still a low light. We have not been caught for this purloin. Obviously it's been seen as we've seen the reaction from Legorve come out, but 1 minute 30 left on the clock. I think the main way that Legorve doesn't lose this is Rob somehow timing out. If the party somehow does not line up in a good way, and Rob either times out or does something just so egregious, like a crash bug right at the end of the game that's very very bad, that Legorve was able to like notice that through a low light.
Yeah, I'm watching
I will
Rocker very
say
closely because like if
25% on this flirt with 1 minute left to go is not where we want to be for Rob.
yeah, and because it's a random low light, I think Rob actually has a chance of. I think it's gonna be Civ shot or timeout actually, which it was I wouldn't believe that at the beginning of the game, because it seems like what Rob is doing is waiting for potential other people in the delegate, possibly Rocker, to be in a conversation to fire off this banana bread, which actually could work.
Which is
Like there's a
happening right
huge
now. Which
problem.
is happening right now. No, wait. Is she
Oh,
going
she
in?
doesn't go
She's going
in.
to Windows.
Banana
Okay,
bread.
we're just firing it off. So,
Firing it off. Low light onto Rocker. Low light onto other people. There's only a few people who possibly in for the real contact here. So slim. 28 seconds left. I don't think there's gonna be a shot yet. And Legorov might be holding this. And there's no way Rob gets the mission win countdown.
oh no!
No! It's over.
It is over. Because I completely agree. Was like it was either gonna be this just like panic sip shot because in our position where we like okay, so purloins happen, contacts happen. It's not the person that I might have been looking at the closest because Rocker was directly knocked out. And so you're like, okay, I am now deciding between whether or not I think it's more likely that Rob is just going for a full timeout, or they've snuck something past me and I completely missed it, and I just have to shoot someone to salvage the game. Unfortunately, Legorve does not choose correctly, but that actually was a little bit more tense. That was closer than it needed to be, given that we had a low light from the beginning.
Yeah, and Irish was not actually able to make that purloin happen. It was a little bit too late. However, that's such a tiny timing difference that it's very, very hard to tell as a sniper unless you're really on top of the purloin timing things. That 6 second timer. But wow, what a set! Rov displaying just such dominant play throughout the entire thing. We had these. You even had these shots that we weren't sure what they were for, right? In that middle game on some of those venues that hardtail camping is a little bit more brittle on. We saw Rob adapting to that on the sniper side and really coming away with a strong lead. And despite everything, despite Legorve's attempts at making that comeback and really succeeding in a lot of places, Rob takes the victory. And
Yeah, and it's
you have to wonder what happens if we get that inspect on Ballroom way back at the start. But
absolutely.
incredible.
And I do actually want to give Legorov a little bit more credit on that last shot. I was looking at it a little bit more closely. So it's still not missions, but it is a very suspicious
Yeah,
moment from
walk.
Irish where she contacts, she's talking during the contact, and then she stops talking, walks away, walks up to someone, and immediately starts talking when they enter next to Sari. It looks like it could just be a rush flirt with 20 seconds left.
Yeah,
So again, Irish couldn't have delegated, right? Not possible for Irish to delegate, but I kind of see it at least a little bit more now. So I will still at least give Legorv props for making it a real set, coming back, making it a real set. Really was worried that was just going to be a complete stomp from the mid set, but really showed some grit there and made it into a line. That's why we had those nice long sets. The games would have been over
yeah, so
on a
long
shorter
ago.
set. It would have been like what 10-4 or something like that. and it would have been kind of rough, but much more respectable 12-9 finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations to Rav, who played a lights out season, pretty much dominated the entirety of Grandmaster, and followed through in the finals. So well done to Rav. Congratulations. And that is the end of the SpyParty Major League Season 2.
Yeah,
We got here. We did it.
yeah. A very like SML has been, of course, like the league of the last couple of years, right? It's
Yeah,
it's kind
the
of taken over
spiritual
the spot.
successor to SCL, as it
Yes,
were.
but improving on some on it in some very important ways. So highly encourage anybody that hasn't ever played in Spy Party. The next SML won't be for a little bit, but it's a great league to jump into. You'll be specifically matched up against people that should be relatively near your skill level, or at least down there where you have a fighting chance. You won't be fighting. You won't be starting off and having to fight the players you've seen here today unless they really drop off. So
I
you
don't think
can
it's
jump
even
in and have
possible.
that. Yeah,
Even if
actually, I
they did
think
drop off skill-wise, I don't think they could decay in the league that fast.
it's true. It's true. So
I
yeah, you
mean,
don't
we
have to worry about some of that if this is looking like
another
real complicated.
another tournament news. We do have Summer Cup coming up sometime in the vaguely near future, kind of after the Twin Light Zone tournament. But, that is all for talking about in the Discord, which you can find at discord.gg/spyparty. Very easy link to remember. You can also buy the game on Steam or at www.spyparty.com if you'd like to get in on the action, this competitive game that we all love. We hope you love it too. So come on down if you're interested. And other than that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Slappy, for co-casting this incredible set with me. And of course, thank you, Wrestler, who organized this and has been hosting for us the entire time.
And also shout outs to this was run by Nebula and Silver. Am I right about that?
Yes,
The
Nebula and
league.
Silverthorn co-TOs for the league. So shout out to them for running a great league here. And have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you back for more casts, I'm sure, with the Twin Light tournament going on. And have a good night.